Hey everyone! So, we're about to dive into a word that gets thrown around all the time, governance. But what does it actually mean? I mean, really? Well, let's get into it.
Seriously, when you hear that word governance, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Just take a second and think about it.
For most of us, I'm willing to bet it's something like this, right? You're thinking of presidents, maybe parliaments, the big formal machinery of the state. But what if I told you all that stuff is just the user interface? That the real power, the real story, is in this kind of hidden operating system that's running in the background of our lives all the time. And today, that's exactly what we're going to decode.
Okay, first things first, to really see this operating system in action, we have got to look way beyond the usual government buildings and national capitals.
So let's start with a core definition, just to get us on the same page. See, governance isn't really a noun. It's more of a verb. It's the process, right? It's all the interactions and decisions between different groups who are trying to solve some kind of collective problem. It's not so much about the laws written on paper, but more about how we create the social norms and institutions that shape how we all act.
And once you start looking, you see the stuff everywhere. I mean, think about it. Political parties. They have their own internal constitutions and ethics rules. The Holy See has its own unique legal structure. That's what sui generis means. It's totally one of a kind. Heck, even academic societies get in on the action, weighing in on huge education reforms. None of these are the government, but they are all absolutely doing governance.
So if it's more than just the government, then you got to ask, at what scale does this operating system run? Well, it turns out it's running on pretty much every level you can imagine, from the totally global to the super hyper-local.
Let's just do a quick flyby of the different layers. At the global level, you've got things like international climate agreements and even sports bodies. Zoom in a bit to the regional level, and you've got things like the EU managing funds for migration. Down at the national level, there's stuff like Quebec's famous language laws. Go even deeper to subnational, and you find unique treaties like the one in Tatarstan. And all the way down at the most local level, it's the neighborhood ward offices in Mandalay. It's all governance, just at different altitudes.
Right, but here's the thing. These layers don't always line up perfectly. Take air pollution in London, for example. You get what's called fragmented responsibility, where the local city government and the national UK government might have totally different, even conflicting policies. It just goes to show you, governance can be really messy and complicated.
Okay, so if governance is happening at all these different scales, the next obvious question is, who are the players in the game? Well, as you're about to see, the cast of characters is way, way bigger than you probably think.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. Look, on one side, you have the state actors we all know about, bureaucracies, the police, legislatures, standard stuff. But then look at the other side. You've got these non-state actors who are just as powerful and sometimes even more so. We're talking corporations, religious groups, international sports bodies, you name it.
And you really can't underestimate their power. I mean, get this. Just one group of these non-state actors, the big asset managers, who literally shape corporate governance policies, they control over $10 trillion in assets. That is just a staggering, mind-bending amount of influence.
So here's the big takeaway for this section. These non-state players are not just sitting on the sidelines. No way. They are actively creating their own rules, from corporate HR policies to religious doctrines to the rules of a sport, that can actually have a much more direct impact on our daily lives than some law passed 1,000 miles away.
All right, we've talked about the different scales and we've met the players. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, the operating system itself. Let's look at the actual rules of the game, both the formal ones we can see and the informal ones we can't.
Okay, first up, the formal rules. This is pretty much the pathway we all learned about in civics class. It kicks off with agenda setting. A president gives a speech to get everyone focused on an issue, like immigration. Then comes formulation, where all the experts and think tanks design solutions. Next up, legislation, the actual sausage-making of passing laws. Then you have implementation, where government agencies have to actually carry it out. And finally, evaluation, where we see if it worked. And that feedback loops all the way back to the top.
So that's the official story, the neat and tidy version. But you and I both know that's only half the picture. The operating system is also filled with this informal, unwritten code, and it's every bit as powerful.
And this is where things get really deep. These informal rules are everywhere. You have things like kinship and culture that totally shape who has power. You have clientelism, basically pork barrel politics, trading favors for votes.
Then there are the unwritten democratic norms we all just kind of expect people to follow. You also have the threat of violence as a governing tool. And finally, and this one's subtle, you have depoliticization, which is the clever art of governing by deciding what not to talk about. These are the real invisible gears turning the machine.
So, when you put it all together, that's when you see the complete picture. Governance isn't just a building in a capital city. It's this incredibly dynamic system. It's state actors and non-state actors playing on every scale, from global to local. And they're all following a set of rules that are both written down and just understood.
So there you have it, the hidden operating system of our world, laid bare. And my final question for you is this. Now that you can see this system at work all around you, in your workplace, in your community, in the news you watch, what part of it are you going to start paying closer attention to?